Hello and welcome to some more Star Citizen. The 2952 Intergalactic Aerospace Expo is next week. We have Alpha 3.18 coming shortly thereafter with its ever-expanding features, and we're going to take a look at some of these even newer features that have just been added with its new racetracks and new outposts. And for Alpha 4.0, we've got some of the new space stations there to have a quick chat about too. But there's more because we also have the ship showdown skins and flair for this year's IAE to talk about as well. There are some new outposts that they've been able to slip into Alpha 3.18. So this expands the 5 derelict outposts that we had on Microtech to 35 across the whole of the Stanton system. So there's now 10 on Microtech, 10 on Hurston, and 1 to 6 on various moons. There are lootables and delivery missions tied to these locations, reasons to explore them. There are AI updates here as well to make sure that they are functional and able to navigate to those new areas because there will be combat in these areas. Expanding out the gameplay area is absolutely fantastic to see, especially when they're adding effectively another 30 new outposts to the game. Alpha 3.18 is still planned to have a live release by mid-December, and the extra time has allowed CIG to get more features like that in there. They've also been fleshing out some racetracks for 3.18 and their points of interest, getting them better in-game, more sort of integrated, evolving some of the locations that the community were using around the game for various races. So these are actually in the persistent universe. They're not on the sort of Arena Commander or anything like that. So there's a racetrack around Yella from the community Grim Prospects. It's in an asteroid field adjacent to Grim Hex. There's some cool structures and debris here as part of that track. Euterpe has a planet-side ship racetrack called Icebreaker. It's a little Microtech research station. There are various vantage points and landing areas around here for an audience. There's also another planet-side track on the outskirts of Area 18, so very city and building orientated. So beyond all that, there's another 3 racetracks coming in Alpha 3.18, so that's 6 new racetracks for that patch. Now, even if you aren't into racing, these updates are awesome as they represent new points of interest, more assets, deeper interaction, and perhaps other careers that are affected by racing, such as maybe gambling coming online and things like that. Remember, there's also a ground racetrack with the Greycat PTV, one at the Vision Center at Orison Crusader. I suppose that's actually 7 racetracks in total if you include that one. And there was a new feature that Cloud Imperium had added to 3.18 that ties all of this together, or at least expands the gameplay out for it. Time trial race missions are being added throughout the standard system for 3.18. Players will be able to test their skills versus set times, earning rewards based on performance, and even unlocking more tracks as they progress. I am personally more interested in watching or gambling on races than I am in participating in them, mainly because I'll be so bad at them. Give me Destruction Derby, ground vehicle missions, yes. I'll be more into that. What was it? Scramble races that we had previously, although they were a bit buggy and poorly implemented at the time, or it wasn't the right time to implement them, shall we say. Going a bit beyond, there are new space stations coming with Alpha 4.0 with Pyro. We know this. These are sort of like stations that were derelict or abandoned and then have been taken over by the various factions of Pyro, although they're not the best at maintaining these stations. They're hugely different from the stations in the Stanton system. They're lawless. They're mostly sort of in disrepair. You can draw your weapons in these areas, it looks like, and pew everything in sight if you wanted to, although there will be obviously NPCs and their form of law enforcement around those areas. They have been refining and polishing these areas as much as possible with FPS combat in mind, but there are also environment and exploration puzzles too. These stations house the various factions of Pyro, and obviously there's going to be missions associated with that. You might be able to ally yourself with some of these factions, but not all of them. Dangerous landing zones filled with mission opportunities. That sounds awesome to me, but also they're going to be interesting just to explore. Drake are running this year's Intergalactic Aerospace Expo, the 2952 IAE. So we've got a red and grey colour scheme for the halls, the floor layouts and lighting has changed too, but the IAE starts November 18th at 4 PM UTC to be precise. It starts with some big news from Drake, and the Corsair are going to be flyable too. There are then 12 days of ship sales with new and limited ships too, so you can expect some cool new stuff. A free fly, so anyone can try Star Citizen for free. An expo hall full of ships at Microtech to go and visit, where each day there will be some new ships, a new manufacturer takes over the hall, and you can go and see what's new there. And there's some cool stuff in the sort of hollow suites underneath as well. You can see some ships in production. We'll also have some ship updates and cool shorts produced by Cloud Imperium throughout. It's just a big celebration of spaceships and a huge sort of funding extravaganza for the game. Now, earlier this year, the Anvil Carrack, the Anvil Pisces, the Crusader Mercury Starrunner, and the RSI Scorpius were the top 4 ships in the ship showdown. So basically, the community voted on their favourite flyable ships in game. If you have one of those fine vessels in your web hangar, you'll receive their respective 2952 Best in Show paints at the IAE this year for free. In addition to the Best in Show paints, you'll also get an exclusive in-game challenge coin item for each of the top 4 ships that you have in your hangar. Plus, to celebrate this year's Ultimate Champion, all backers will receive 2 in-game ship models of the Anvil Carrack of 2 different sizes to celebrate the Ultimate Champion of the Ship Showdown, along with a 5th Ship Showdown themed challenge coin. You'll also receive the models even if you don't have a Carrack. All of those little flair items and bits will be distributed with the Best in Show at the Intergalactic Aerospace Expo. That will start on the 27th of November, that particular segment of the IAE. That process can take some time, so please remember that. If you don't see them in your hangar right away, they will be there eventually. It's worth mentioning as well that if you've got a Carrack that you've melted, that doesn't count. You have to have a Carrack actually in your hangar to actually get that sort of item attributed to your account, or one of those ships in your hangar, not melted in your sort of melty store page. I think you kids call it the buyback section, actually, so just be aware of that. All of that will be immediately available to use once it's actually in your hangar. You can expect a few more playtests of the 3.17.4 and Intergalactic Aerospace Expo PTU to be tested this and next week ahead of the 18th. So I might be able to get in and see the Corsair a little bit early. Hopefully we'll be able to do that and get a video up on that. Boom! That's it for your Intergalactic Aerospace Expo little update there, as well as some additional bits that were coming with 3.18 with those new outposts and racetracks. But what do you think? Are you really excited for Alpha 3.18 now that they just keep on packing more and more and more content in there? Do you think they'll be able to make that mid-December sort of date for a live build of 3.18, and will it have most, if not all, of the features that it plans to have? Are you excited for a load of new outposts? What about those racetracks? Do you think that they will be directly tied into those time trial race missions, or do you think there's only going to be a couple of those sort of race missions and they might not be exactly what we expect? What are you looking forward to? What are you expecting for 3.18? Are you going to be picking up any ships during the IAE? And if so, what are you looking forward to? Are you super excited about the Corsair like I am? Whatever your thoughts, I'd love to hear from you in the comments below.
Hello, I'm Winston Churchill, and I use NordVPN to defend the Internet Empire. We will fight the ants on the beaches. We shall fight on the internet. We shall fight the trackers and the malware. Whether we want to watch Netflix for another country or have greater accessibility to the internet, we will defend our island home. At any rate, that is what we're programmed to do.
Thanks, Winston Churchill. What? What do you mean, Zin? That wasn't Winston Churchill? Point still stands. Go to nordvpn.com/BoredGamer to get yourself discounted NordVPN, or use the links below. Every month we have a ship giveaway. For November, we're giving away a Crusader Spirit C1. It's a fantastic looking multi-role ship that can fit a vehicle in the back or a load of cargo, and it looks really cool. It's got loads of forward-facing weaponry and a tractor beam. As it's a concept ship, though, the winner will have a Cutlass back in the meantime as a loaner. It comes with access to the game and lifetime insurance too, so bam! Even if you don't have Star Citizen stuff yet, you can get straight into the game with this. It's all you need. Just comment on any of my videos this month to be in for a chance of winning. A massive thank you to everyone that has used the join button under my videos to become a channel member, and my Patreons. You guys are awesome. It really does help the channel. Please consider becoming one of those lovely people too. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the verse.